Welcome to this episode of 10 Minutes with Sam. This is Akshat Singh. Our guest for today is Dr. Palitha Kohona. Dr. Kohona has recently been appointed as the ambassador of Sri Lanka to China. Previously, Sir has served as the permanent representative of Sri Lanka at the UN and the permanent secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Sri Lanka. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today, sir.
My pleasure indeed, Akshat.
Sir, given your recent appointment, our conversation today would largely focus on the relationship between China and Sri Lanka. The format of the show is fairly simple. Otherwise, we have 10 minutes and we'll try covering as much ground as possible. So without wasting much time, let's get to the first question. Sir, you would soon be leaving for Beijing, where you would be taking the reins of the Sri Lankan embassy there. What do you think are the government's major priorities in China as of now? And what role do you think Sri Lanka can play in the BRI Initiative?
Okay. The major priority for the government of Sri Lanka at the moment is to place the bilateral relationship on a firm foundation and on an even keel. We would like to see China, which is our regional neighbor and a long-standing friend, continue to enjoy good relations with Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has been a friend of China, so has China been of Sri Lanka. Now, the second question, or this part of that question is, what will be our other priorities? Sri Lanka would like to improve its trade with China. At the moment, there is a trade imbalance, and we would like to access the very lucrative Chinese market to a much higher degree than we are doing now. Another priority for us would be to attract Chinese companies to come and invest in Sri Lanka. As we know, China is the biggest contributor to international investments at the moment. China exports billions of dollars in investments to other countries. Sri Lanka would also like to benefit from this flow of Chinese investments. And it's essential because our economy needs a major boost, and we would like to see all our friends join us in in investing in Sri Lanka. But certainly we would like to encourage Chinese companies to do that as well. And then on the thirdly, Sri Lanka would like to tap into the Chinese tourism market. 169 million Chinese traveled outside China last year. Yes, and we would like to get a portion of that huge stream of travelers to Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka would benefit immensely from a major infusion of tourists. Our tourism suffered dramatically in 2019 due to the Easter Sunday bombings, and this year, like everyone else in the world, we have suffered due to COVID-19. So when tourism recovers, we would like to see a large number of Chinese tourists visit Sri Lanka. Now, what is our role in the BRI? We welcome the BRI. We believe that the BRI could be a force for the good. It certainly has helped many African countries to come out of in poor economic circumstances. And in fact, the World Bank has said that Africa is now, for the first time in 30 or 40 years, is expanding as an economic entity, largely because of Chinese investments in African infrastructure. So I think if properly managed and carefully monitored, transparently monitored, the BRI and investments that will flow with the BRI will be a force for the good. It will help countries improve their economic performance, and the others who are not part of the BRI could also benefit from the BRI, because when economies grow in the region, all countries stand to gain, not only those who have been directly benefited by the BRI, or China, which provides the funding for the BRI. I think most countries in the region will benefit from any resulting prosperity in the countries of our Indian Ocean region.
That is particularly interesting, sir, because China has played a very important role in Sri Lankan development. However, there are certain concerns that Chinese investment is actually designed in a way so that it lures Sri Lanka into a debt trap. China recently announced a 90 million grant to dispel such concerns. But experiences such as the Hambantota experience kind of go against this thread. What is your perspective on this? Do you think
I think there's a huge misconception about Sri Lanka's debt to China. It's less than 10% of Sri Lanka's debt, external debt, is owed to China. The rest is owed to international financial institutions and particularly to Wall Street. So to describe our debt to China as a debt trap, I think is a huge exaggeration. Furthermore, when we turn to China, especially in the case of Hambantota, we went to the World Bank first. We even went to India after that, looking for assistance. It was only when we were rebuffed that we turned to China, and it took years of negotiations to obtain the funding from China. And China did not come and force us to take those funds. We went to China and asked for those funds. So I think it's a bit of a misnomer to describe our economic relationship as something that will get Sri Lanka into trouble.
Absolutely, sir. I agree. The criticism is often very paternalistic in a certain sense. Sir, however, Sri Lanka also finds itself in a very distinctive position when it comes to the geostrategic location of Sri Lanka, right? It is close to both India and China in terms of its relationship. And we know that there were recently certain tensions between India and China. Where do you think the center of gravity for the government rests when it comes to India and China?
I think we have said very clearly that we are a non-aligned country and that we do not intend to get involved in the disputes that may arise in the region. And it's unfortunate that there are disputes when we certainly hope that our neighbors will resolve them amicably to their mutual satisfaction. But certainly Sri Lanka has no intention of getting involved in those disputes or playing a role there. For us to have a neighborhood that is calm and peaceful is our goal, and our would work towards that. We'd encourage our friends and our neighbors to have the same ambition, same goal.
Absolutely, sir. But we cannot deny, and actually this brings me to my last question right here. We cannot deny that there have been certain tensions brewing in the Indian Ocean region. On one hand, we have China, and on the other, we have India with the Quad now. And there seems to be a certain atmosphere of animosity. Given the fact that Sri Lanka is a major player in the Indian Ocean region, what do you think the government strategy would be to deter conflict between larger states there?
India is a major power in the Indian Ocean. India has legitimate security interests. And Sri Lanka's position has always been that Sri Lanka will not pose a threat, nor will it allow any other to pose a threat via Sri Lanka to India's security interests. And that's a major plank in our foreign policy. And then again, in addition to that, we would like to see Sri Lanka not being interfered with by powers who may have ambitions within the Indian Ocean. We've had bad experiences over 300 years because of a strategic location. One imperial power after another affected us. We were part of their global strategies. And we wouldn't want to get into that situation again. For us, and we had a very debilitating 27-year internal conflict that's all over now. And we wouldn't want to see anything of that nature again on our soil. Our sovereignty, our independence, and our territorial integrity is paramount to us.
Absolutely, sir. Okay, this brings us to the end of 10 minutes, sir. Thank you so much for sitting down for this interview with us today. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. We want to wish you best luck for your venture, and we would speak with you soon again.
Thank you very much, Akshat.